Okay, so here we are, day one of the 2023 Romford Film Festival. Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm joined here with some filmmakers who have just shown their film in the festival. Just starting this end, could you just introduce yourself, your role in the film and the name of the film, please?
Absolutely. My name is Gregory, and I was the writer and director of the film The Light That No One Sees. And I'm from Germany.
Yeah, my name is Rene. I'm from Germany as well, surprise. And I was the editor of the movie The Light That No One Sees.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm the director of photography and a co-producer on Black and White Duppy.
Great stuff. So thank you very much for joining us. First question for you guys. Well, how did the idea for this film, it's a very powerful short film, how did it first come around for you?
Well, it's an interesting question. I mean, I wrote the script shortly after my own father passed away, after battling cancer for a long time. And for me, it was kind of, I wanted to tell a story that kind of brings people the experience a little nearer or closer to feel how it feels like when, you know, the rug is pulled at you, when you lose someone, and to really get the viewers on board of Joseph's reality in that case, to really believe that there's still something you can do, even though, unfortunately, the person you are missing is not around anymore. So, it was kind of a probably healing process as well for me to just pour my heart into it. But that's basically how it came about. So I knew I wanted to do a film about grief or loss of some sort, and something that would not just objectively show, a tragedy or something, but more so, get the viewers on board of someone where they're, have the feeling that there is actually a chance to, save someone, even though, it's not possible anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can kind of tell it's a lived-in experience. How long did it take you to write? Was it a quick thing, or was it something you honed over the time?
Well, I think the basic structure of having a main character and having a point of view from his end, and then revealing towards the end what is really happening, that came pretty quick. Probably in 2 weeks' time, I kind of had a basic structure, but I think that the version that actually we got to film on set was like 23rd revision or something. So it took me like 6-7 months to get to the script where we were like, okay, this is how we're going to shoot the film.
Let's quickly, before we pass over to Rene, let's talk about your actors, especially your lead. He's absolutely tremendous. How did you find your cast?
There was a funny story, actually. So given the fact that this is like a very demanding drama, and I knew that we were dealing with extreme emotions, I was clear that I had to find somebody who is capable of portraying that. So what I did is pretty much I had the script done. I did a project showcase, appealing PDF, so to speak, about the project and what we're trying to do. And then I just went ahead and started contacting the agents of the biggest German actors that there are. Like, I actually started with like up there with people like Christoph Waltz and stuff. Mm-hmm. Obviously that didn't work, but I just kept basically, moving down slightly until I was left with people who are pretty well known in Germany, and usually what you do get when you contact the agent is they're not interested, or they don't have time, or they don't work for free, and usually it's always the agent who gets back to you. And then in his case, it was him personally answering my email and telling me what a great script it was, and that he really could see certain patterns in the character Joseph that he himself experienced back in the day when his long-term girlfriend died of cancer. So all of a sudden, and he told me that unfortunately he won't be able to make it because we started planning to shoot in November, and he was saying that he doesn't have the time, but he was encouraging me to keep on looking for somebody because he believes it could be a great movie. And that pretty much left me with an amazing feedback, first of all, from an amazing actor that is pretty well known in Germany, and an actor, first and foremost, who shared basically the fate, so to speak, of my character. Like, he knew firsthand how it felt like to really, lose someone after a long battle, someone who's very close. So I was like, there's no better chance for me to get a perfect match like that. So I asked him, when do you have time? So we moved the whole thing 4 months, and we shot it in February with him.
We'll bring in Rene at this point. How do you first get involved with this project? Did you know each other before, you worked with each other before, and how do you go about the process?
Yeah. So actually, first of all, I think it's important to say that the version we just saw is basically a very stripped down version. There's actually the full version tomorrow evening. And about how did I get involved? Greg and I, we studied film back in Cologne for 3 years, and we've become best friends since then. And that was basically towards the end of our studies that he came up with the idea. And since we were best friends back then already, I knew his dad, and it's obviously a very, very personal story. And that was basically, I mean, we've been a team director and editor since day one, basically. So there was basically no question that I would be there for him, and also like helping him to realize that project. And
editors are kind of, I think, one of the kind of like unsung heroes of the filmmaking process, because not everyone kind of knows good editing, if you know what I mean, until you see bad editing. Does that make sense? When you see a film with bad editing, it really stands out. But when you see one with good editing, it kind of is normalised. What's the challenge for you? What kind of challenges are you faced with when you edit a film? What's your goal?
Well, I think the most important thing for us always was to never lose Joseph, like to never to always 100% stick with him, because like Red said, we want to have basically his point of view, and to never lose his perspective, but other than that, I think it's quite some time ago, but was there any big challenge we faced? Because it just felt like two friends making a movie, it was pretty, the process was pretty fun,
editing wise, I remember that we got together and had these crazy night sessions of, like, going through frame by frame and stuff too. I think one of the challenges was that we realized that there were a couple of key things missing during the shoot that we could have gotten to kind of fill up the whole feeling of, the hospital, for example, and to basically keep up the momentum and to have a good setup and then start accelerating the pace with him, like finding out about the medication and then trying to, go behind the back of that other guy and to find that climax and to not lose the tension and momentum of the viewership. And I just wanted to say again that tomorrow night at 10:30, around that time, there's going to be the full version, because that one was 28 minutes, the full version is 40. So, and obviously we personally like all the versions, so if anybody's interested, feel free to join.
Yeah. I'm going to bring in Emily now. So, Emily, how did you first get involved with Black and White Duppy?
Well, I was around. Well, I knew Tom from university, so I guess kind of similar. Like as the case with like most independent filmmakers, I think you just stick with the people you trust, and and I guess from like day one, well, our course was really white, so like we just kind of stuck out, and like we teamed up a lot. I shot most of his films, but also produced all of them. And leading up to Black and White Duppy, which he wrote during BLM, kind of like, especially in London, it just kind of like peaked. And he was writing it for an application, but then I was just basically kind of around, like on the phone, off the phone with him, talking about like the script. And once we start crowdfunding, that's when I probably started getting into it as a producer. As a DOP, I was kind of like meant to shoot it anyway, but then I got a lot more involved as we just realized we needed more help.
So in the film, there's quite a lot of different settings. You've got street settings, you've got a kitchen setting, is there a night shot? Is there a night shot as well? So there's all different kind of setups and that. How do you go about tackling all those kind of different things? How much do you discuss that with Tom, the director, right?
Yeah. Who can't be here today because of an emergency, but then I'm sure he would have loved to. When you say setups, you just
just been different kind of like different environments. You got what's the challenges of filming in the street in Brixton, for example? Like there's all different types, isn't there? That compared with the kitchen scenes, for example.
I guess we kind of split it up. We started with all the interior stuff, and then we went out to exterior. Like shooting in Brixton, we knew was going to be a challenge because, well, it's just Brixton is very busy. Yeah. We had like some proper equipment with us that we couldn't like damage rooms. A lot of like stuff was banking in it. We had, I guess, the best team we had possible. I'm not saying that to discredit like the team at all. Is I guess we're all very young. Like most of us were probably like, the oldest was probably like 28 years old, I'd say, like as a filmmaker. Like everyone else was probably a uni student or just like looking for something to do. So we were just kind of like running around Brixton with the camera, with a lot of people just like staring at us, and it was kind of scary, but it was fun. It was like a lot of the people we worked with also grew up there, so it's not like we didn't understand the territory. Like I didn't grow up in London, but then like I was surrounded by people who understood like their environment, were prepared to like talk to people. In terms of like cinematography wise, I guess like challenge, like tackling all these like different setups. I don't know. It was just very much adapting to the situation as it called for. So we would have plans like the final scene behind Curry's PC World in Brixton. It's just this like long street, but like no lights. We only had like the building's lights, like those work lights they usually have. So, and that location itself came so late in the process because so much had like, I don't know. I don't think I'm allowed to curse, but like just a lot of things like went south, and so we just kind of had to like work as we went. And then I just bring up that scene just for example. Like we just black wrapped a lot of those working lights. We put up the green light was just our light, but it looks like a street lamp. It was just very like simple solutions, but it was just on the day itself like mapping out the blocking, and it was, I would say that was probably the most challenging like outdoor scene. We spent like the whole night shooting there basically until it got bright. So I hope that answers.
How long was the shoot in total?
It was 5 days. A 5-day shoot, yeah.
And the internal, the kitchen scenes, for example, whereabouts are they shot?
So that was in Tom's grandma's house, actually, yeah. And the other so that we had 2 kitchens, the modern one and his grandma's kitchen. So that was shot like at home in the house and like in his actual grandma's kitchen.
So as a director of photography, your kind of influences, are they film based or photographs or kind of what kind of background do you have that you got into that?
I guess personally, I have a fine art background. I grew up like painting, but photography came in as well. I guess I kind of like did everything that I could. As a filmmaker, I started out as a director and a writer, and I still am, to be honest. But it was a very independent route, so I just was doing everything anyway. I always like produced and like edited and stuff. And then when I came to uni, I guess I wasn't very interested in like directing because it felt like I was too far away from an environment that I was comfortable in to like be directing personal things about my life. And so what I decided to do was to help, like to kind of dedicate in a sense like my skill set as a cinematographer and a filmmaker to like Tom's films, who was very like insistent on his vision of like his filmmaking at uni and out of uni, which is why we made this film. We made this film in the second year of uni, so it wasn't like done outside with like a big budget. We just kind of like really, we fought quite hard to make it, basically, post-COVID as well. So sorry to answer like your actual question about the references. I guess it is a big mix, like films mainly because I love films and I love watching films and making them. But yeah, like we took from everything, like photographs, old films, music videos, so on and so forth. Yeah.
So there's a real mix of those kind of influences in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Were there any burning questions in the audience? There's one hand here. Just wait one moment. I'll be with you.
You're the photographer for the black and white film, right?
Black and white Duppy, yeah.
Black and white Duppy.
Yes. That was yours. How do you, the light is incredible because it's very, very difficult to shoot black faces anyhow on the side. How did you set your spot where you're exposing for the faces basically and then letting the rest take care of itself? How do you set your exposure when you're doing these night shots?
My approach to lighting is always to light the environment and then kind of allow your subjects, I expose the environment, allow these subjects to kind of interact within the spaces. I think there is a myth about shooting darker skin and lighting darker skin because the idea is that they don't, because they absorb light. I feel like that's just kind of like a racist myth. I do think that there are different approaches to lighting darker skin, but that those references I get specifically from black cinematographers that I've researched a lot, who tend to say things like, instead of using direct light and like exposing, as in like adding a lot of light just because you think dark skin doesn't reflect light, you bounce it instead, or you work with your makeup artist to understand like how to expose for dark skin. I don't think it's it wasn't like a really big challenge or anything like that. It was a learning curve for sure, but I had a very good team, a good makeup artist, good lighting team.
And on the photography side, did you have to what was your ISO? What did you up the game to get the pictures? Because you're underlighting the scene generally because that's how it was. It looked terrific, but we saw the face.
Right.
And I just wondered if you made it shot at a high game. What were you shooting raw? Were you shooting raw?
Yes, we shot on a so many.
Raw.
Yeah. So no, it was not a particular push to expose for faces, not anything like that. It was just lighting. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yep.
Hi, it's interesting. I just had a question Sorry. I'm Lisa or Contestant. I have a question for the more specifically. How is it possible working with actors? You mentioned that we kind of have a similar story, so I think you have a lot of rehearsals or maybe you kind of look into it. So if you have any insights about that.
Okay. To be honest, it was a huge learning curve for me as well. But couple of key takeaways that I had was that the most important thing, at least on that project, and from my point of view, was to create an environment where the actors and actresses can trust you, right? So, especially if you're dealing with drama or anything that requires the actor or actors to kind of dig deep inside and utilize certain emotions that may have been hidden for a long time. It's important that they trust you and that you kind of create a safe space for them. So it's not so much about rehearsing the scene, but what we did, or before every single scene, we kind of took out 10 minutes with everybody involved in that scene. And we didn't really rehearse anything, but we talked about what this scene means for Joseph's character, for example, or the other characters, and in the big scheme of things for the entire film, so that at least everybody knew what the goal was to convey and communicate with that scene. And then I was just basically trying to create a space for them that it's okay and also wanted, that they go within themselves and get whatever they need from the toolbox of their emotions to put it on in front of the camera. And so pretty much, for example, the scene where he kind of loses it, right? And he knocks against the door and he's charging at her and he's wrestles down on the floor. That was something that definitely required like a huge burst of emotion and control, and he really had to. And I know as a fact that he had to, dig up those emotions from the past relating to his girlfriend that he lost, unfortunately. So what we did is we had a team of 60 people on set, and when we were filming that, I pretty much closed down the whole set so that it was only me, the director of photography, Joseph, and of course everybody involved in the scene. But that was pretty much it. So that's what I mean with really just give them the space to that they trust you, that it's safe for them to make themselves naked emotionally, so to speak. And then the other thing was just to really understand, like, this is the character at the beginning of the scene is at A, and everybody understands kind of what B is, but I won't dictate to them how to get from point A to point B. I just want them to know what B is, and then the rest is on them, pretty much, and then we just go from there.
I think we've just got time for one more. I think there was a hand up here. Thank you.
I wasn't going to ask about the subtitles because I know you speak amazing English, so did you handle that yourself, or was that expensive to do? And the other thing is, do you feel like it's easier to get the showing films from non-English speaking countries in English-speaking countries? Because I think we've got more used to reading subtitles now, and for me it's really horrible. It's like you don't miss anything. We've got subtitles there.
Well, to answer your first question, thank you very much. First of all, I try to do the subtitles myself, and then I sent them over to a friend here in England for them to check. So that's pretty much how I did it. If I hadn't done it myself, it probably would have cost me, I don't know, £400-500 for the film. And yeah, I don't really know. From my experience, what I heard and what I experienced is that the English-speaking countries seem to be intrigued with foreign language films because, as with everything, like culture and different cultures, all of them have a certain type of mood and feel to them. Like generally speaking, it's not meant to be a generalization, but for example, German films, right? They tend to have like a very, very heavy, very serious tone most of the time. So I think that probably helps this film as well to gain interest in the English-speaking countries or any country other than Germany. And yeah, so I'm quite happy that in England it's been screened at 3 festivals, in the US as well. So yeah, that's I think one of the reasons that might have helped the film to be screened in those countries.
Great stuff. Right, I'm going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much, three of you, for coming and for submitting your film. And can I just have one more last round of applause, please?